Hello again. So I thought it was worth watching back this one. This is a 3 versus 3 standard game. Speed up the start. So this is a map in which, as you'll notice, there's a rather large mountainous region that you can't get across, as it were, such that there are only 2 points that you can get into this central area. Which makes, obviously, and there's resources in the central area, which makes dominating that central area rather important, which I do try and do. I don't necessarily do as perhaps well as I could. What I'll also try and do is follow some of the other players. I seem to remember the red player is in particular quite a good one. This is the Rus, I think. So I do a decent amount of scouting to start it off, which is obviously good. Speed it up again. I'm still a bit. I don't normally play these kind of 3-player, 4-player games. Slightly not used to that. I normally do the kind of ranked multiplayer ones. So I'm not sure how concerned to be about kind of defense early game, and how concerned and how kind of how the game dynamics work, to be honest. So people start trading. I start trading with the pink player, which has kindly created a nice trade post market out right at the end here. So that would be presuming that the kind of play goes on for quite a while. Speed it up for a sec. I normally am fairly kind of focused on my own kind of stuff until at least 14-15 minutes in to get to as upgraded as I can be. Again, trying to rush. Sorry, I was a bit slow there, but it was only a villager getting just killed in a mining camp. So it was the first attack that the enemy does is towards me, essentially. I then flag that to allies, obviously. Kill another villager there. I've seemingly been a bit slow removing him. I advance a little bit, but somewhat warily, I have to admit, because I don't know what kind of force I'm going with, and if necessary I'd want to kind of be within range of the town centre. I then, again, slightly wary, I create another tower. I'm not quite sure, if it was a multiple. Yeah, so I think it's actually not just one player. This is Cyan. So there's obviously a different player, and then there was purple here. So there's numerous different players coming down. At the moment they haven't brought a particularly strong force with them, which means I'm fairly confident about wiping them up. Particularly as the pinks have come along with some veteran Royal Knights already, which is quite nice. I've also got, obviously, the outpost within range of that, so I'm not too concerned. I just don't know, whether they'll want to continue to push or what the situation is, because that was the cyans and purples. I then decide that it might be worth at this point going a little bit further. Notice that there are a few others. The plan being to stick on this gold source. They get some relics, which is good. I want to kind of live up to my claim that I'm going to try and follow the other players at the same time. So the pinks are kind of roaming around, checking stuff out. I'm very much looking to dominate this area. And the pinks are being a little bit kind of risky by just chucking a load of villagers over there. But then the pinks don't really need to worry quite as much as the individuals on the end, I guess. So if they did lose those, it's not a huge issue. It's good the French can heal themselves, isn't it? So yeah, so far so good. Taken out that initial attack. I've got a nice, at least an outpost up, ready to help defend, and upgrading that, putting a springboard on it, whatever. Pinks are now starting to move into this central area to dominate. We've got a defensive landmark in the absolute centre, which is nice. Slow it down a bit. So I decide at this point I was actually going after a load of villagers on this gold source, a gold vein, but then they start to move their tower elephants towards that area, and I decide it's worth, because there's not very many of them, and these can be a real pain if they are kind of along with other massed units, and so I try and take them out. But whilst that's happening, obviously, the cyan colour, the other Ottomans, it's Ottoman versus Ottoman, they take out my mangonels with light cavalry. I come back still slightly hopeful that I can win this encounter if I can take out the mangonels, but then it turns out that I'm a little bit too close to the enemy base and I'm probably not going to win this. So I basically leave them to do as much damage as they can. There's no point in trying to retreat at this point, and pretty rapidly look to build up another force. Also, I'm looking to... I do manage to retreat with a few. I'm looking obviously to, thinking about where to put the next landmark. There's a wolf I can't be bothered to deal with. Bitey infantry. I didn't actually notice that. As in, I didn't notice that they were called Bitey infantry. I decided to put the Seagoat castle up here. Firstly because whilst I normally would be a bit more aggressive with it, A, I don't have an army to be aggressive with, and B, I'm still kind of learning these game dynamics. I'm not sure quite whether that would be a good idea. It could be a too aggressive move in this game because they might quite easily be able to go 2-on-1, which is probably what would happen, I'd imagine. And then they would just destroy very quickly the Seagate Castle. I decided to nevertheless try and dominate this area. I'm going to do my bit on pushing the enemy back a little bit, making sure that they don't have too much of a free reign, whilst also controlling this gold vein, but not going too far forward such that it's kind of very obviously, easily going to be destroyed. So I now go for a bit of a push with a very small number of troops. I'm obviously very mindful that this isn't a very significant force. With the Seagate Tower, they can do some nice damage, but without it, it's too small to really do anything. Doing quite well on food compared to everyone, which is nice, but then I'm not doing so well on wood at all. I don't know why I've only got 1 on wood. I think possibly I moved a load of people from wood when I needed to do that, and then was a bit slow to put them back, and now I'm trying to put them back slightly frantically and I'm a bit slow to do that. The point being that I do need, and this is something I do badly in this game, I do need that some trebuchets to defend the tower, and that becomes very apparent. I'm a bit slow to realise that, I've said this before as well, I'm a bit slow to realise that they might actually want to try and take that tower out, and so they eventually do bring quite a few trebuchets to bear, and I have no defensive trebuchets to defend that. I put another keep up. Actually not sure that was the most sensible idea, it might have been better to put a wall up in retrospect, but nevertheless there we are. This is quite a nice attack, so I obviously miss what's going on down here completely. So the Rus have got elite horse archers, and they're being pushed by veteran spearmen. There's a nice little attempt to convert some units there that make sure that they retreat. They've got a bombard on the enemy's side, they've got some samurai. The pink's just kind of doing their own thing seemingly. Got a few horsemen lurking around, elite royal knights. The red has used this opportunity, and the pink are coming along with them to do some damage here. The blue are a bit slow to move their villages. Speed it up a tad. Pink is fielding a nice force, kind of complementary force. There are not, so that at this point they have kind of teamed up against the enemy quite well. I've created this siege workshop, but I'm not really doing anything with it, which is silly, and I should move all these villagers onto wood at this point. I'm very slow to do that. They're slowly creating a battering ram. I'm slowly kind of adding together armies to try and build that up a little bit. I'm a bit complacent though when it comes to what's going on down here. They are building a keep, and I think eventually, do they build two? I'm not sure, but they're certainly building one, and they're rolling trebuchets into position. I didn't really see that, and I think I even suggest to my ally to start attacking, with a view obviously to kind of ensuring that I'm not just trying to attack, I'm ensuring that the Seagate Castle has a bit of a say in what's going on as well. But then I also don't want to leave my ally out in the sticks, as it were. Don't do particularly well on this. I don't do particularly badly either, to be fair. I don't think it's awful. They do manage to get a decent number of trebuchets, bring a decent number of trebuchets to bear. I do start to produce trebuchets belatedly. Obviously I'm having to repair the Seagate Castle on not much wood, as well as try and build trebuchets on not much wood, which is a problem. Quite quickly becomes apparent that it's a problem. I eventually do relocate some of these villages and move. Also, should have been using more resources to make a dent in there. So I am doing a little bit of damage here to that trebuchet, which is good. Let's try and keep abreast of what's going on down here as well. We've got 35 horse archers, elite horse archers. What's going on? They're bringing in a minute more trebuchets to bear. They go for an attempt at destroying the trebuchet, which is pretty powerful actually, isn't it? Nearly take it out with just that one, and they do take it out. Let's see what happens here. They've got a nice force of battering rams. That's actually quite impressive. Interesting. So I mean, if you're looking at positively for me, I'm keeping the cyans occupied and the purples occupied to an extent, whilst the reds are, and the pinks here a little bit, are going for the push. That's being slightly generous to me, I realise, but nevertheless you can interpret it in that way. I quite like this idea of just using two lances, I presume they are. It's annoying that they are not very disciplined. Oh, that was nice, potentially. I guess what it does is it forces them to move away whilst at the same time they're being absolutely destroyed by the elite horse archers. Actually quite a good tactic. So you're forcing them to retreat, even though the horse archers will be really weak against, like sword, against melee units. You're forcing those melee units to retreat whilst bringing a lot of arrows to bear on them at the same time. It is quite a nice tactic. So Cyan's doing quite well. I remember Cyan is the central one. So I'm not quite sure what the purples are doing at this stage. This is kind of where it matters really, isn't it? What are the purples doing? They're kind of trying to get this central element a little bit with a couple of these tower elephants. I'd suggest that they, both cyan and purple should be kind of moving here. Should be perhaps even retreating a little bit from this attack. They do take out the Seagate Castle, fair enough. Which could have left me in a bit of a pickle, but I still do have a decent force. Probably a force that would be able to fight off any advance into it. The blues are now pretty much done, and they're starting to get rolled up. Cyan's the enemy that have done quite well, I'd suggest, against me. Or perhaps I'm the kind of ally that has done particularly badly, depending on how you want to look at it. Right, it's pretty much coming up to the end now, 31 to 28, so about a minute left. Let's just see, reveal all and see what the situation is. So they've basically won with a combination of battering rams and horse archers, which is a nice little kind of combination, particularly with the warrior monk trying to convert the units and forcing them to move off whilst the horse archers absolutely destroy them. It's a tactic I haven't actually seen in this game before, and I've played quite a lot, so quite good. Let's have a look at some of the stats. So we've got Econ, for me it's Econ 88, Military 55. For Cyan it's Econ 62, Military 40. So they're not doing necessarily that amazingly. Purple, Econ 107, so Military 60, they've prioritised Econ. And the Res Econ 95. 95 is probably about right, isn't it? It's near 100 that you're looking to get at. Maybe my Econ's a little bit low, and indeed my military unit count is a bit low. I probably would, as you can see, defend against this push, presuming that I would have thought the Cyans, see they're not They're not really trying to help the blues, or they weren't trying to help the blues seemingly. I think they just realise it's done. The purples have quit already. And there we are. Okay, another good game.